mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Never mind. Know that these sacrifices are all born from activities of the body, mind, and words. After understanding, it is practicing these sacrifices described by the Vedas as means of attaining Atma and the Lord. Then seeing both Atma and Paramatma by realization that arises from that practice, you will be liberated from samsara. Different types of sacrifices discussed above are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. All the Vaishnava acharyas who give commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, all of them, one point they make is this, that Lord Krishna really disliked Arjuna's not wanting to fight in the battlefield because he is a Kshatriya and it is a compulsory Varna Dharma. And, a compulsory Varna Dharma and a compulsory Ashrama Dharma for a man, that is as important as Stri Dharma for a woman. These are mandatory duties. And when Arjuna refuses to accept a mandatory material duty, then basically that means he is saying, I don't want to go through the standard pathway to attain liberation, because these are actually provided for liberation. These material duties have been provided actually as means by which we can become pure at heart and then realize the Jivatma and then realize the Paramatma and then attain liberation. So this, when Arjuna says, I don't want to fight, the Acharyas explain that Lord Krishna's point is, that means what? You don't want detachment realization. So this is actually meant for this purpose. For this purpose. Now, even if you say, no, I don't want to go through the slow track, or even then for the fast track, you have to start from here. You cannot start from adharma. You have to give up adharma. So you cannot use adharma as your platform, just as a plane flies from the airport. You have to start from a particular point. So the starting point cannot be adharma, because when you are progressing from one stage to another, let us say from here, progressing track 2, track 3, you're progressing from here to here. Until we become steadily fixed in stage 2, we will always go back to the place from which we started. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 1, stage 2, stage 1, stage 2, until we become steadily fixed here. Now suppose I started off with adharma as my platform. I cannot one day be in adharma mode and next day be in pradhanibhuta bhakti mode. That is not allowed. You can shuttle only between acceptable platforms. This is the first platform, this is the second platform, this is the third platform. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when we climb staircase, we have one foot in the lower platform, lower step, another foot in the higher step. Then you shift your weight, you become steadily fixed on the higher step. Then we lift the lower step. This is how we climb. Similarly, when you climb also, you have to climb like that. You need to be fixed in the next higher platform. And the lower platform cannot be a platform that degrades you. At the very least, it should keep you in the same position. To keep you in the same position. It should not push you down to hell. Okay. Text 33.
परंतप सर्वं का कर्मा कुलम अर्थ ज्ञान परिसमापते. O chastiser of enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge.
All the types of karma yoga just described have two forms because of containing within them the quest for the individual atma, just like a forest. Externally, they are karma, but internally, they are jnana. Within all those different types of karma yoga, the jnana aspect of those actions is praised in this verse as the best. In the action having two forms, the jnana portion of the sacrifice is considered better than the gross portion consisting of action. Dravyamaya, meaning composed of material elements such as giving charity, stands for all the external methods mentioned, such as sense control and starving the pranas, life airs. The Lord further explains, when jnana appears, all karmas with their parts disappear. This is stated because it is known that a sadhana disappears with the attainment of the goal. The pursuit is over the moment you attain your desired destination. Bhakti Thakur. Even though one gradually attains jnana by all these yajnas, attains peace next, and finally develops auspiciousness of the jiva in the form of bhakti to me, one should understand one deep conclusion related to all yajnas. According to different types of steadiness, the yajnas are sometimes dravyamaya yajnas, yajnas concerned with material objects and goals. Sometimes they are jnanamaya yajnas. The jnanamaya yajnas are superior to the dravyamaya yajnas. O Partha, all karmas culminate in jnana. That means all material duties, all varna dharma, ashrama dharma, stri dharma, they are all meant to take you to spiritual realization of the Jivatma first, the Paramatma next. That is why they are there. All material duties are meant for detachment and realization. You can see here on the second stage also. So it is meant for this particular purpose. Just as a school culminates in the final stage of education. In India, we have first standard, second standard, like that all the way up to 12th standard. Culminates in 12th standard. So like that. When all the yajnas are conducted but devoid of spiritual vision, then all the performance becomes merely dravyamaya. When they are executed with spiritual vision, then actually, though being dravyamaya, they become spiritual, chinmaya or jnanamaya. The situation where the yajna is only dravyamaya is called karmakanda. And when it is jnanamaya, it is called jnanakanda. In performing actions of yajna, one must be careful of the sacrificer. That is, you must be careful of his mentality. What is his mentality? What is the reason for which he is carrying out this activity? For instance, person may, let us say, within ISKCON we are familiar with ashrama dharma. Okay? I'll take that as an example. Say a person becomes a grihastha, or he becomes a vanaprastha, or he becomes a brahmachari, whatever. Everything has to be seen in terms of what is the reason for which he is entering into that. Is he just looking at the superficial material benefits that can come out of that situation? Is that what he is looking at? Or is he looking at the internal, whether he will first of all attain hrid vishuddhi, purification of the heart. That means reduction and freedom from lust, anger, greed. And then he will become internally realize that he is not the body. And he will realize that he is qualitatively equal to all other jivatmas. Then he will realize he is qualitatively equal to the Supreme Lord. Then he will become attracted to eternal service to the Supreme Lord. Then he will increase his devotion service to the Supreme Lord. He will increase his Shravana and Kirtana Smarana. What is in his mind when he is thinking of entering into that ashrama? Same way for Varna Dharma, same way for women for Tri Dharma. Everywhere there is a superficial aspect and there is a deeper aspect. So activities performed with that deeper aspect have profound spiritual benefit, which is not found within the same activity which is performed with the superficial goal. That is Krishna's point here. The purpose of all sacrifices is to attain at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and ultimately to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna Lord. Nonetheless, there's a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifice sometimes takes different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifice should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge, or without attainment of knowledge. Sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. The real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. That means you only get material benefit. You only get punya, with which in your next life you can get extraordinary artha and extraordinary karma. But that's all you got. You just got material dharma, which will give you material artha and material karma. That's all. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kanda, fruitive activities, and sometimes jnana kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when they end this knowledge. So the very same activity has the effect of karma kanda when I am only interested in dharma kanda. Or when I am interested in moksha, then it has the effect of jnana kanda. So it is calculated to be belonging to this category or that category based on what is the internal motivation with which I am carrying it out. 34.
परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदिच्छन्ति ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनो तत्त्वदर्शिनः. Just try to learn the truth by approaching spiritual master. Inquiry from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth.
After thus teaching knowledge of Atma, the method of realizing that knowledge with its components, the Lord now teaches knowledge of worshipping the Lord's Spirit. To attain this knowledge, a person must take association with devotees. That he teaches in this verse. So, after one attains spiritual realization that he is a spirit soul different from the body, what do we do next? Oh, we should meet somebody who is God realized. Because self-realization is only the first stage. Here, self-realization in Baladev devotion, self-realization refers to only realizing that you are different from the body. It is not full self-realization, where you realize also your relation to the Supreme Lord and so on. So for that, you need to take shelter of someone who is fixed in God realizing. Somebody who has realized Krishna, who is directly seeing Krishna. Only that person can give you that. No one can give you something if he doesn't have it. For that, you require help from the next step. Bhakti will not happen. If you say that it is difficult to distinguish between the Dravyamaya and Jnanamaya Yajna, I teach this. Take shelter of a guru who sees Tattva in order to attain knowledge. After considering these distinctions, after offering respects to the guru who sees Tattva, satisfy him by serving him sincerely. Ask questions concerning Tattva. He will teach you knowledge. Can someone read out Prabhupada's purport? Nice purport.
Path of self-realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be bona fide spiritual master without following his principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculators or by dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path, nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a medium servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from a learned and spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him. In submission and service and inquiries, a bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind towards the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries become perfect.
Typically, there may be several spiritual masters, more than one. The self-realized souls, plural, can impart knowledge unto you because they, plural, have seen the truth. Upadeshyanti in Sanskrit is plural. They, plural. No, not they. Jnaninaha, plural. Tattvadarshinaha, plural. They're all plural. But one can only take initiation from one person. Diksha, normally we take from several. Okay, so there are different aspects here. Actually, in this very verse, you notice here the Shishya Kartavya and Guru Kartavya, the duty of the Shishya and the duty of the Guru. The first half teaches us the duty of a Shishya, the second half teaches the duty of a Guru. Now, in Vedic culture, you will notice one feature. First of all, when you have a relationship between an inferior and a superior, and there's a contractual relationship, like here, Shishya does this, Guru does that. First step has to be taken by the Shishya always. The first step will not be taken by the Guru. Even later on, even when we surrender to Krishna, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja is the duty of the Jivatma. Aham Tvam Sarvabhavabhyo Moksheshyami Ma Shuchaya is Krishna's duty. First, I should do what I'm supposed to do because I'm inferior, Krishna is superior. Then only he will take the next step. It is not that first you expect the superior to take the step, and then when he takes the step, then I take the next step. Inferior should take the first. Then the superior will take the next step. So that is important. Depending on what the inferior does, then the superior will act. So that we should keep in mind. Not that we start thinking that first of all let him do all these things, then afterwards I will do my part. Everywhere we will come across. First of all, a wife should submit to her husband. Then only the husband will agree to take charge. Not the other way around. Same way, first of all, the children should listen to parents. Then parents will take care of the children. So first of all, the disciple should listen to the spiritual master. Then the spiritual master will take charge. Otherwise, it will not happen. Here also we see, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya. It is the duty of the disciple. We do this properly, then Krishna will arrange for spiritual masters to come who will do the other part. Upadekshantite Jnanam Jnanam Sattvadarshana. Keep that in mind. We all require to serve Krishna's representatives, otherwise we have no other way of understanding what Krishna wants. In his 6th canto commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, if one thinks, oh, why should I go through all this trouble of accepting a guru and all that? Why can't I just work it out my own way? Anyway, in the scripture it says that the holy name is enough. You don't need to take Diksha. There are statements like this. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur says, actually, those statements are not for those who already know the process of Bhakti Yoga. There are personalities who don't know the process of Bhakti Yoga, even if they're engaged in it, like Ajahn. He says, these persons, even in their dream, don't know the process of Bhakti Yoga. And they will be chanting the holy names. For them, spiritual progress is very simple, only 2 steps. They chant the Supreme Lord's names, that is the first step, and they attain Vaikuntha, that is the second step. For those who learn the process, then they have to go through the regular sequence, 14 steps, standard. All the steps, the 14 steps, because more than 9 steps, there are some other steps. So in other words, the standard pathway is for those who know. Knowledge brings responsibility. The moment I know something, now I'm responsible to carry it out. I cannot learn about something and then tell Krishna, okay, no, I cannot escape. Who told you to learn? You learned it, no? Now, from now onwards, Krishna will look at you differently. From now onwards, I expect you to carry it out. So, Krishna Chakravarti Thakur says these other statements like the holy name does not depend on initiation and all that is for the other category. But for those who know, must accept. They know that I require a spiritual master and still I am avoiding it. That will not work. They have to carry out all the scriptural injunctions properly. They have to do. If they don't accept in this life, then in the next life they will get a chance to accept a guru. In that way, next life they will get a chance to move on forward. Okay, text 35.
Yajgadva Punarmoham Evam Yasya Sipandava Yena Bhutanya Sheshavani Drakshasatmanya Brahmani. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine.
This verse describes the result of this knowledge, meaning the result of realizing Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. Realizing this knowledge of Paramatma along with that of Jivatma, you will not again fall under bewilderment, which causes you to think that you are killing your relatives. Why will I not fall under bewilderment? By this knowledge, you will see all bodies of men and devatas actually situated separately as jivas with material identification. And you will see those bodies situated in me, the Lord of all, the cause of everything, as they are my products. What has been said is this: the jivas are different from their 2 bodies, gross and subtle, but are opposed to the Lord. Thinking of their benefit, my energy furnishes the jivas with a sense of possessiveness within material bodies, with material facilities. By that Maya, they also take on the occupation, the conceptions of killers and persons that are killed. However, their true, pure forms do not have relationship with this misconception or with those bodies. The Paramatma, the Lord of everything, supplies to the jivas under his shelter bodies and senses meant to support their bodies, and happiness and enjoyment within planets according to their individual karmas. But when worshipped by them, he also awards them liberation. The person who understands this cannot fall under bewilderment. Today, you are eager to give up your swadharma of fighting because of bewilderment. When you obtain knowledge of Tattva taught by Guru, this bewilderment will not take shelter of you. By this knowledge of Tattva, you will know that all beings from human to animals are situated as one spiritual Tattva, Jiva. They are all one spiritual Tattva in the form of Jivatma. Their material difference occurs because of Upadhis. All this is situated in me. Bhagavan, the Supreme Cause, in the form of the effects of my Shakti. What's an upadhi? Material designation. Okay, I will not go into various complicated details. Upadhi is a little bit more sophisticated than what we normally think it is. Explain it. Suppose you have a rose. It is a scenario example of a rose. A rose of pink, naturally. Now you place a prism next to it, or a crystal next to it. The crystal is not pink in color. The crystal is transparent. But when you place it next to the rose, it also becomes pink. The pink color of a prism or a crystal next to a rose is called upadhi. It is called a designation. So that is what is known as upadhi. Sarvopadi, hear about it all the time. Material designation. You need to think a little bit to understand. The pink color of a crystal, it is not its natural color. You cannot say it is false, it is real, because it is perceived. Every time you keep it, you will see it. So that is real only, it's not false. But it is not intrinsic to it. The intrinsic color of that crystal is actually white or transparent, or you can say no color. So suppose that crystal you can compare it to a Jivatma. Jivatma is placed into Prakriti, subtle body, gross body, this is all Prakriti only. The Jivatma exhibits the characteristics of conditioning. That conditioning is material designation. It is like the pink color of a crystal placed next to a rose. Now, keep in mind that there are different types of crystals. There are some crystals which are colored. There are blue crystals, green crystals, pink crystals also. This pink color of this transparent crystal is different from the pink color of a pink crystal. It is only from when it is external. It is not internal to it. It is not even touching the rose. It is next to it. And still there is that. This is the standard. You'll hear from Mayavadis, you'll hear from others and their followers, you'll hear from everyone. This is what is called upadhi, material designation. Useful to know, because when someone speaks these things, don't be too bewildered. They say, I already know about it. It is what is called material upadhi. So when we talk about the conditioning, that is why Prabhu keeps on saying, Asubho Kyaya Purushaha. The Jivatma actually does not have any connection with Prakriti. He just plays next to Prakriti. He's not actually touched by Prakriti. Not actually touched by Prakriti. It's by Lord's illusion that we are made to think that we are touched by it. Okay, let's continue. Text 36.
Vijinam Santarisyashi. Even if you are considered to be.
I didn't read out the purpose. There are some portions from this which are very, very important. The result of receiving knowledge from a self-realized soul, or one who knows things as they are, is learning that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, now look at the second line of this verse, text 35. Look at the word meanings. Yena, by which, Bhutani, living entities, Asheshani, all, by which all living entities, Drakshyasi, you will see, which means, so far the meaning is by which, meaning because of which, because of this knowledge, you will see that all living entities, Atmani, in the Supreme Soul, you will see that all living entities are in the Supreme Soul, Athavu, or in other words, Mahi, in me. You will see that all living entities are in the Supreme Soul. In other words, you will see that they are in me. In Sanskrit, this kind of expression called Saptami, the seventh case, indicates that you are dependent. Gurau Tishtati, a standard textbook example. He is staying here under the care of his guru, literally. I mean, literally it means he's staying under his guru. So the seventh case has this meaning. You will see that all living beings are under me. They are under the Supreme. So the result of receiving knowledge is that all living beings, that you will realize that all living beings are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the result, Krishna does not say, by which you will realize that all the spirit souls are me. He is saying, you will realize that all these creatures, all the living entities are in the Supreme Soul. They are in me. That means they are under me. They are under my control. They are maintained by me. They are dependent on me. That's what it means. The sense of an existence separate from Krishna is called Maya. Ma, not, ya, this. Something that we have nothing to do with Krishna. That Krishna is only a great historical personality and that the Absolute is the impersonal Brahman. Factually, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, this impersonal Brahman is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of everything. The Mayavadi philosophers wrongly think that Krishna loses his own separate existence in his many expansions. This thought is material in nature. We have experience in the material world that a thing, when fragmentally distributed, loses its own identity. But the Mayavadi philosophers fail to understand that absolute means that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1 and that 1 minus 1 is also equal to 1. This is the case in the absolute world. For want of sufficient knowledge in absolute science, we are now covered with illusion and therefore we think that we are separate from Krishna. Although we are separated parts of Krishna, we are nonetheless not different from him. We are qualitatively not different from him at all. The bodily difference of the living entities is Maya, or not actual fact. We are all meant to satisfy Krishna. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought that the temporary bodily relationships with his kinsman was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted towards this end, that a living being, as Krishna's eternal servitor, cannot be separated from Krishna. And his sense of being an identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. A child is born from a mother and a father. The child is maintained by the mother and father. But if the child says, I have nothing to do with my mother and father, I don't care for them, I don't know them, and so on, then that is similar to the situation of the conditioned soul. Even now we are being taken care of by him, because he is the one who is providing all the background facilities required for us to be taken care of according to our karmic reactions. He is the one who is actually providing all these facilities. But still we have the sense that I have nothing to do with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That sense is produced by Maya. The living entities as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme have a purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily differences arise from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service through Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master, and thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Perfect knowledge is that the Supreme Soul Krishna is the supreme shelter for all living entities, and giving up such shelter, the living entities are deluded by the material energy, imagining themselves to have a separate identity. Thus, under different standards of material identity, they become forgetful of Krishna. When, however, such deluded living entities become situated in Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that they are on the path of liberation as confirmed in the Bhagavatam. Liberation means to be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. Okay, 36.
अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजिनां सन्तरिष्यसि. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries.
Bhakti will not happen. Even if you have committed the worst sin, you can cross the ocean of suffering by climbing on the boat of knowledge. This verse speaks of the power of knowledge. So whatever one might have been, if he comes to the point of correctly understanding his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then he can be saved. Proper understanding of one's constitutional position in relationship to Krishna is so nice that it can at once lift one from the struggle for existence, which goes on in the ocean of nations. Perfect knowledge received from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the path of liberation. The boat of Krishna consciousness is very simple, but at the same time, the most sublime. 37.
भस्मसात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्नि सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities.
It has been said that sinful reactions are destroyed by Brahma Vidya, or knowledge of the Supreme Lord and the Jivatma. Now this verse says that all karmas, even punya karmas, that means reactions to punya karmas, are destroyed by Brahma Vidya, by spiritual realization of the Lord and the Jivatma. Just as blazing fire turns fuel wood to ashes, the fire of knowledge, the fire of realization of one's own Atma and Paramatma turns to ashes all reactions, including those arising from pious acts, but not the prarabdha reactions. That knowledge burns up all accumulated past karmas, which are like reeds, except the prarabdha karma. And that knowledge also transforms actions performed in the present life, making them like drops of water rolling off a lotus leaf, having no reaction. Though the prarabdha karmas are extremely weakened by the influence of this knowledge, they are still situated in the person with the realization of Atma, by the will of the Lord, in order to reach the proper path of conduct. All of this requires an explanation. Track 1. Okay. The person has come through detachment and realization. Already, most of his karmic reactions are removed. Then there is something called prarabdha karma. That means the karmic reactions have already begun to fructify. Now I have reached stage 2, maximize bhakti. This, by Krishna's will, is reserved. I've already attained realization that I am not the body. And my realization that I am a servant of Krishna, my spiritual realization, that is also beginning to develop. But it is kept. Why is it kept? Because it is useful for his purpose. I noted earlier that in this stage, first stage, you engage, at least in track 1, you engage in your material duties in order to become free from lust, anger, greed. Purification of the heart. In the second stage, why are they engaged in activities of karma or material duties? It is for loka sangraha. It is for public welfare. So Krishna keeps the prarabdha karmic reactions intact for them, because Krishna wants to demonstrate to the public how do you progress in spiritual life when you are still having to deal with your prarabdha karmic reactions. So Krishna keeps it for them in order to preach the proper path of conduct. Sat prachar. That expression is Tatpasat prachararthaya hare richayaiva atma anubhavini avasthapayati. So the Supreme Lord himself places this. The Shruti says, the realizer of Brahman overcomes all reactions to sinful and pious actions of both accumulated and present types. The meaning of the verse is this: the realizer of Brahman. Brahman in the Upanishad refers to Paramatma and Bhagavan. In the Upanishad, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan is just synonymous. The realizer of Brahman overcomes the past reactions except Prarabdha, and as well the reactions being accrued by actions in this life, which may be either pious or sinful. The author of the sutra says, Vedanta Sutra, on attaining this, there is destruction of previous sins and non-clinging of future sins, because it is so declared. So the previous sinful reactions, previous pious reactions, they are destroyed, and the ones that have already started in this life, those reactions, they don't cling to you. They are not destroyed. Like water that touches a lotus leaf, it rolls off it, like that. It is also there. It just doesn't affect your spiritual realization, but it is there. So if one started the karmic reaction as he's supposed to become very diseased, you will experience that. That is good. That is why in the second track and all, they say that yes, you do devotion service. Second track, they are engaged in this only, because until you attain full God realization, you cannot come to the third stage in the second track. So they typically say, even now they say, the Ramanuja group and all, they say, prarabdha reactions you cannot get out. That only when you become fully God realized, when you internally you are uninterruptedly seeing the Supreme Lord, only then that goes away. Other karmic reactions will be taken away. So in the second stage, all karmic reactions are not removed. Prarabdha reactions are kept. Only that portion is. Let me read out Prabhupada. Perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared here into fire. This fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction. Reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ash. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori are consumed. In the Vedas, it is stated, one overcomes both the pious and impious reactions. Bhaktivinoda, what does he write? O Arjuna, just as a blazing fire burns to ashes all feeble birth, the fire of knowledge turns to ashes all karma, means all karmic reaction. It destroys the aprarabdha and kriyamana karmas and makes the prarabdha karmas weak. Aprarabdha, those which are in queue for enjoyment and suffering in a future lifetime. Kriyamana, the ones that I'm currently generating. Because for every non-spiritual activity that a human being from the age of 14 does, male or female, you will get enough karmic reactions for minimum 10 lifetimes. So it is all being generated. Kriyamana. So aprarabdha and kriyamana karmic reactions are destroyed. Kriyamana means while being generated. Prarabdha means karmic reactions which have already begun. The moment I am born, then my karmic reactions for this particular body has begun. This particular, what do I call it? Group of karmic reactions or lot of karmic reactions. This has already begun to produce it. That is called prarabdha. That Krishna will not touch. When one comes to this point. When one comes to the full point of Kevala Bhakti, in track 3, this problem is not there. In track 3, everything is removed, including prarabdha karmic reactions. Everything is taken. But that requires that one has only one goal, which is Prema Bhakti. He is not even desiring liberation. And he certainly does not have any desire for dharma or kama. So that person will not experience prarabdha karma also. Okay. Your question?
I think that the stage, what stage the reactions of karma will be no different. The stage two.
Yes. When one comes to this point, full detachment realization after Kevala Bhakti, then all karmic reactions are removed.
Can you make some parallel between these stages and the stages of spiritual advancement, other sadhu and so on? For example, the stage second, stage two, to reach
Krishna Chakravarti Thakur accepts Kevala Bhakti and Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti as Bhakti. Even Rupa Goswami accepts it. What we call Bhakti Yoga. Anukulyena Krishna Anusula. Anyavilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Dhyanadhara. Jnana Karma Dhyanadhara does not refer to this Muni Bhuta Bhakti at all. Because then Jnana and Karma are predominant. Jnana and Karma should be subordinate. So even by Rupa Goswami's very definition of Uttama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti can be of this type. Basically, it can be track 2 or track 3. That is Uttama Bhakti. It can be pure. Track 1 is not pure. I mean, it is from impurity, they are moving towards purity. But in track 2, very rapidly they come to the platform of purity. Track 3, even more fast, they come to the platform of purity.
Anyavilashita Shunyam means stage 3 at least. Stage 2.
The stage 2, which will take them to Vaikuntha, up to Vaikuntha. It cannot take it beyond Vaikuntha.
But only for tracks 2 and 3. For track 1, it's not Anyavilashita Shunyam.
Not at all. They already have so many desires. It's not Anyavilashita Shunyam. But they have clearly limited their desires also. First of all, it is within the sinless category. Even within that, they are limited. Because only material desires which don't obstruct them. Anything which obstructs them, they will not accept. It has to be on the way. It has to be on the way.
Prabhu не будет Bhakti. Will say Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma? No. The stage of Brahma.
No. Definitely here. Or maybe here, maximum this, because this is Parabhakti, not Bhakti Lavate Param. It's called Parabhakti. What we call exclusive sadhana bhakti, that is what is called Parabhakti in the Ramananda. So we call it as Kevala sadhana bhakti. This is the same as their Parabhakti. There in their system, they have Parabhakti, they have Parabhakti, Parajnana, Paramabhakti. We have Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, So this is Kevala Sadhana Bhakti, which will then lead to detachment and realization. That's where you get Bhava Bhakti, after which you come to this point of okay, let's continue. Okay.
Nahi jnanena saddusham pavitramya vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddhim samsiddha kalenatmane vindati. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time.
In this world, there is nothing as pure as jnana or spiritual tattva, spiritual principles. After some time, you will attain this knowledge as the true result of Nishkama Karma Yoga of your Atmas. By this statement, it should be understood that peace, the result of knowledge, is better than knowledge. One cannot say that there is nothing as pure as jnana. There is no more excellent tattva than jnana. Another name for peace is taking shelter of the Lord's feet. That will be described at the end. So the idea is first karma, then jnana, then bhakti. And if you want to look at it in terms of the results of karma, the result of karma is dharma, trivarna. And then you come to the result of jnana, which is moksha. Then the result of bhakti is prema, Krishna prema. So in other words, as we progress, like I showed you, this is this part. Initially, but no place for adharma. Adharma is the main. Okay? Similarly, I engage in my material duties. I also engage in the Sattvic 21 duties. I also engage in the 9 duties, one or more of the 9 duties. And then gradually, I progress towards, I only engage in the common duties, the 30 common duties. Then I engage only in the spiritual aspect of the common duty. When that happens, internally also, my desires will continuously become upgraded. Initially, I may have desires for dharma, artha, kama, moksha, prema, everything, a big mess, everything we want. But then, as we progress, then our desires for dharma, artha, kama reduce, and so then our desire for liberation also will go. So in that way, gradually, we should keep checking whether these things are happening. Okay. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is a mature fruit of devotion service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. 39.
Shabdavallabhate jnanam tatpara samyatendriya jnanam labdva param shantim achire nadhigacchati. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace.
What type of persons attain this knowledge, and when? One who has strong faith that this knowledge will arise from purification of the heart through nishkama karma. One who is steady in this performance, and one who moreover attains control of the senses, attains this knowledge. At that time, he attains liberation. Attentive and controlling the senses, having faith, a person attains knowledge. The person who has no faith in Nishkama Karma Yoga is not qualified for Jnana. Undertaking Nishkama Karma Yoga with faith, the person very quickly attains the highest peace. I will explain this highest peace. One is called a faithful man, who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service, and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. 40.
Yajnasta savadhanasta sansayatma vinisati mayam lokasti na paro na sukham sansayatmanaha. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scripture don't attain God consciousness. They fall down. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next.
Sri Baladev Devotion. Having described those qualified for knowledge and the results, the Lord now describes the unqualified person and the result for that person. The ignorant person, like an animal with no knowledge of scriptures, or the person who, in spite of having knowledge of scriptures, has no faith, since he has a quarrelsome nature, or the person who, in spite of having faith, doubts if he can attain the perfection. This person is destroyed. This means he deviates from his own interest. Among these persons, the one with doubts is especially criticized. This doubtful person does not have happiness derived from the gross world or the next world. Happiness is generated from actions prescribed by scripture. that action is accompanied by knowledge of the individual Atma. Where is that happiness for one who has doubts about attaining the goal? So he is not going to get anything. That person who is ignorant of the nature of karma and has no faith in it is always doubtful. This person has no auspicious. That person who is ignorant of scripture has no faith in it and is always doubtful, has no auspicious. Among such people, he who is filled with doubt does not attain happiness in this life or the next, because suffering in the form of samsara destroys his peace. People who are almost like animals have no faith in or knowledge of the standard revealed scriptures, and some, even though they have knowledge of or can cite passages from the revealed scriptures, have actually no faith in these words. And even though others may have faith in scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, they do not believe in or worship the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna. Such persons cannot have any standing in Krishna consciousness. They fall down. Out of all the above mentioned persons, those who have no faith and are always doubtful make no progress at all. Men without faith in God and His revealed word find no good in this world nor in the next. For them, there is no happiness whatsoever. In other words, doubtful persons have no status whatsoever in spiritual emancipation. This is another thing, internal criteria. If we have doubt, we cannot progress in Krishna consciousness, which means freedom from lust, anger, greed will not be given to us. Lust, anger, greed cannot be freedom from lust, anger, greed cannot be accomplished by our own intellect. Krishna has to give it to us. So if I doubt that which should not be doubted, then I will not be given that. That's all. This point will come in another context, another place, towards the end of the page also. And there Krishna will speak even more strongly. He will say that even if a person is engaged in different items of Bhakti Yoga, now we have 64 different items of Bhakti. If he doubts Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he is actually a bhakta, non-devotee. So he will not attain any of the effect of bhakti. That is why I said there are different aspects of Krishna consciousness, 4 aspects. Pratha, faith; Pragya, understanding; Spritha, desire; Kriya, activity. We need to have the right type of faith and avoid the wrong type of faith. We need to have the right type of understanding and avoid the wrong type of understanding. We need to have the right type of desire and avoid the wrong type of desire. And we need to do the right thing and avoid the wrong thing in activity. So if all of that is okay, then it's fine. I remember one time while explaining it to some devotees, they still could not understand. So then what I did was, I created one Excel file and I put in column all the 8: proper faith, improper faith. Now, proper faith, proper understanding, proper desire, proper activity. Then improper faith, improper understanding, improper desire, improper activity. Then I showed all the different combinations. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 no. Yes, 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 no. No. In that way, I showed all the outcomes from 256 combinations. I showed all the combinations. Then I said, only this one will have work. It has to be yes to all the proper things and no to all the improper. Only out of this 256 combinations, only this one combination is better. So if we step into this particular combination, then we will progress and we will attain the result. Anywhere else we make a mistake, it will backfire. It will not produce the desired result. So faith is also important. There are certain things we should doubt. We should doubt the propaganda of these stupid non-devotee people, that we can all be happy, nice, nice world, we are progressing. And, we should doubt all these things we don't doubt. We absolutely believe in it. They tell you, okay, through modern technology, we can be happy, we can conquer the skies, we can go to moon, Mars, all these things. We believe all that. And then, but when in Shastra we hear these things we don't. So this is very important. Faith is important. 41.
Yoga Sanyasta Karma Nam Jnana Sanchilina Samshayam Atmavantam na Karmani Nibdanti Dhananjaya. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his action, and whose doubts has been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus he is not bound by the reaction of work, O conqueror of riches.
Such a person will attain the perfection of stopping all actions. So he comes to a point where he is no longer obliged to engage in these material duties. That is called Naishkarmya, where you no longer are required to engage in your material duties. Initially, that takes time. Gradually one comes to that point. At one particular point, here he is not obliged. He just gives up. Strictly speaking, even here he is not obliged, because he is engaging in these material duties only for others' benefit. He is not doing it for his own benefit. So even here he is not obliged. But later on, even for public welfare, he doesn't want to do. So even for public welfare, he just wants to promote devotional service to Krishna. That's all. He developed that degree of faith. Okay. Then 41, 42. Wait, 1 minute. One who follows the instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, as it is imparted by the Lord, the personality of Godhead himself, becomes free from all doubts by the grace of transcendental knowledge. He, as a part and parcel of the Lord, in full Krishna consciousness, is already established in self-knowledge. As such, he is undoubtedly above bondage to action. What is it?
Tasmatagyan sambhutam hispamyana sinatmanaha chitvainam samshayam yogam artistotishta bharatam. Therefore, the doubts which have arisen in your heart out of ignorance should be slapped by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga of Bharata, stand and fight.
As remarked, with the sword of knowledge taught by me, cut the doubt in the heart concerning the Atma and perform Nishkama Karma as taught by me. For that purpose, stand up. See, for that purpose, you should stand up. Don't stand up just to win this war and enjoy this kingdom and get materialistic. It's for the purpose of internal self-realization, God realization. For that purpose, stand up and fight. Same activity, but for a more mature purpose. The conclusion of 4th chapter. Karma or action has two parts like grain with its husk. Vyamshakam dhanyavat karma uchamsha ivatandulaha. As the rice is superior to the husk, jnana is superior to the gross part. Shreshtham dravyam shato jnana iti puryasti nirma. That is the conclusion of the 4th chapter. So you have rice, you have the rice grain covered by its husk. But we refer to the whole thing as rice. We cultivate rice in the field, we get it. So we know that the outward portion is not important, it's the inner portion that we get to consume. Similarly, in the activities of Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Shastri Dharma, and so on, the outward aspect is just the particular types of activities. Kshatriya is supposed to fight, Brahmana is supposed to be non-violent, Vaishya is supposed to engage in certain activities and even charity. Shudra should be very quietly, submissively serving the higher three varnas. These are all external aspects. But internally, one may attain realization of the spirit soul. You may attain Kridvishuddhi, purification of the heart. So that is more important. That is more important. That is spiritual realization, detachment. Okay, can someone read out Bhaktivinoda Thakur's report? To text 42. Mohan Rada 42.
Therefore, Bharata, all the doubt concerning Nishkam Karma Yoga arose from ignorance. Destroy the doubts by the sword of knowledge and fight, having taken shelter of Nishkam Karma Yoga. In this Sanatana Yoga, there are two divisions. the part consisting of material objects, and the spiritual portion in the form of the real nature of Atma. Examining the material portion, it is seen to be merely karma. Those who are bound to this portion are called karma jada, stunned by karma. Those who perform material karmas while aiming for the spiritual portion are called Vidvan. On analyzing the spiritual portion in detail, one sees one portion as the Jivatma and the other portion as Bhagavad Tattva. Those who realize the Bhagavad Tattva attain excellent portion of real Atma. This realization is perfected by realizing the spiritual birth and activities of the Lord and his eternal association with the Jiva. This subject is discussed at the beginning of the chapter. The Lord is personally the first teacher of Nitya Dharma. When the Jiva is materially bound by a fault in his eternal intelligence, the Lord manifests by this Chit Shakti, teaches the Jiva the Tattva about himself and makes him suitable for his pastime. Those who say that the Lord's body, birth, and activities are material are very foolish. As much as one worships me purely, that extent one attains me. All types of karmas of the Karma Yogi are called yajna. All types of yajna in this world, such as Daiva yajna, Brahmacharya yajna, Dviha Medha yajna, Samyama yajna, Ashtang Yoga yajna, Tapo yajna, Dravya yajna, Swadhyaya yajna, Varnashrama yajna are all filled with karma. In all of them, whatever spiritual portion of real nature of Atma is present, that should be sought. Doubt is the greatest enemy of knowledge of Tattva. A faithful person taking instruction on this Tattva from a suitable knower of Tattva becomes a knower of Atma, and removing all doubt for attaining the real nature of Atma takes support of Karma Yoga to the extent that there is a relationship with matter.
The yoga system instructed in this chapter is called Sanatana Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has two divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, and the other is called knowledge of self, which is pure spiritual activity. So, in other words, there is the external aspect and there is the internal aspect. The external aspect also involves sacrificing something in order to attain a superior benefit. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not doubted for spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. But one who performs such sacrifices with the spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect sacrifice. When we come to spiritual activity, we find that these are also divided into two, namely understanding of one's own self or one's constitutional position and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For him, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial for such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. In the beginning of this chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. One who does not understand the instructions of the Gita is faithless and is to be considered to be misusing the fragmental independence awarded to him by the Lord. In spite of such instructions, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as the eternal, blissful, all-knowing personality of Godhead is certainly fool number one. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of sacrifices to the demigod, sacrifice to Brahman, sacrifice in celibacy, in household life, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penance, in foregoing material possessions, in studying the Vedas, and in partaking of the social institution called Varnashrama. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action. Regulated action means regulated by Vedic scriptures. The scriptures regulate through prescriptions, allowances, prohibitions. So all of these are based on regulated action. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. One who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls back. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and he does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord, as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita, as it is expressed in the Gita itself. And beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement to deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendent. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of Bhagavad Gita. Previously, Prabhupada said that through these different sacrifices, like sacrifice to demigod, sacrifice to Brahman, and all that, we cannot become Krishna conscious. That Krishna consciousness was independent of it. Now he is saying that Krishna consciousness is awakened by all these sacrifices. How do you reconcile both of these? No, forget about all that. These activities, there are so many different types of yajnas that Krishna has taught. In the earlier purport, Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is independent and these things cannot lead to Krishna consciousness. Here Prabhupada is saying that Krishna consciousness is awakened by these very same activities. So how both these statements can be true?
Previous activities are done proper consciousness. Now it is that
Correct. If it is executed in Krishna consciousness under the guidance of expert spiritual masters who are fixed in the higher position and who know how to guide us to move towards this path, then it is. Otherwise, just by engaging in those activities, there's no way we can come up. We all require guidance. Even after self-realization, one requires a God-realized soul to guide. So what to speak of souls who are not even self-realized? But definitely we require guidance from Krishna's representative. We just make sure that everything is properly executed, then we'll attain the results. Okay, chapter 5. Yes, Prabhu.
Let me ask one more question. Some practical questions, a practical situation. For example, in Moscow, it's common that a married couple don't want to have children.
Why? But there's no, you can't think like. In what?
In national weekend, but they say, oh, it's so much burden. If we have children, we will not have time for our spiritual activities.
Then why you marry? Be brahmachari. You get full time, you get a lot of time. If you want a lot of time, just be brahmachari. Sinless brahmachari. Sinful brahmachari is worse than a brahmachari. Better to have 3 wives and suffer rather than be a sinful brahmachari. Because you are somewhere along the path. No, this is exactly the problem. That's why it's based on regulated action. You cannot think all these kind of things. Just like when you catch a flight ticket, they tell you, you go here, sit here, wait in the lounge. It's all worked out. You can't say, no, I want to dance. You cannot dance. I want to put on some music and dance. They'll tell you, just shut up and sit down. That's not it. Okay, you want to go, then you follow the rules. You don't want to go, you want to enjoy your life here and suffer here in hell. You do. For everything, there's a method. Otherwise, the effect will not come. Otherwise, our lust, anger, greed will not go. Our anarthas will not go. There are 16 anarthas. It's not 1 or 2. You have 16. You have to strike off each one. What do you know this given? For anartha liberty, all these rules have to be followed. See, it is one thing if we cannot beget a child. It's very common nowadays. Half the world is crying they have children, half the world is crying they don't have children. This is this natural liberty. But do not want to have children, what is that?
They want to progress in track 3.
Track 3, but track 3 is for Nirashrama. Very clearly, Baladev Vidyabhushan says right in the beginning, for Nirashrama. For those who are renunciate, there's a time for that. Time for that.
In Prabhupada's time, or even the Shastras, they lived in temple. For example, Yamuna Mataji, she acts like, can we say that she acted like devotee on track 3, like a Niratesh?
Yeah, Prabhupada actually during his time, initially I sent that document. No? Initially, he only expected that devotees would engage in Krishna consciousness alone. And when they were married, I've even heard this. He expected that those who are married, they'll be married for 2, 3, 4 years and have a child, then the husband should take sannyas and wife should be in the Gurukula in training of the children. That's all. Hari Bol. That's Nirapeksha, track 3. What? One. No more remarriage, no sinful activity, no remarriage. That's all. That's all. What more? That is track 3. That we cannot even imagine. We cannot imagine. What is some terrible? What is this? First thing they'll tell you, are you a Vaishnava or Asura, Rashtra, or what you are? How can you give such a terrible proposal? We are ordinary human beings. Come on. No, I need to know. Just be normal, natural. What is there? You want to have a wife? Have a wife. That's okay. Actually, anyone is, it is only a shameful activity to, let's say somebody wants to marry when he's 60 years old. That is also actually allowed in Vedic Shastra. It's not a crime. It's not a crime. It's just a shameful activity. It's not a sinful activity. That's a very strange thing to do. Because if we just a little bit austerity, then next lifetime again when you'll be youthful, you can marry. No? It's like asking for some Sunday feast at night 11 o'clock. You just go to the fridge and eat some fruit, something, go to sleep, and tomorrow next morning, mommy will give you nice food. So every lifetime is like a day. You just work it out, big deal. There are certain things you need to do when you're young. I mean, ideal. It's very strange. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's not sinful. Let me say it. The Vedic system is open to all these arrangements. Why we are so paranoid about it? Want to have a child? Big deal. What's wrong with having a child? Have many children. In fact, the more children you have, the better it is. And actually, our devotees are so paranoid. The Muslims have more faith in Allah than our devotees. They happily marry, they happily have children. Lots of children. 5, 6, 7, 2 digits also sometimes. 10, 12. And they very openly they say, when God makes arrangement for marriage, He has already made arrangement for the financial arrangement for the wives, children, everything is taken care of. I should just follow. Be Muhammad, everything will come. That they have much more practical faith. Our people now, they funny ideas they have. So from where money will come. Now, what is this silly thing? You follow dharma, will come. Dharma rakshiti rakshitaha. You protect dharma, dharma will protect you. Which is ordinary faith that even karmakanda Hindus have. That much faith also we don't have. You think what? Krishna is some miser or what? He doesn't have money. He presses one button, he'll give you 1 lakh. What's the big deal? You follow dharma, everything will come. From where it will come, we don't know. It will come. Without this degree of faith in Vedic Shastra, that is called astikya. It is not even the Shraddha of Rupa Goswami. It's very, very basic astikya. Astikya means you accept that everything taught in Vedic Shastra is bona fide. That means if I do it, everything promised in the Vedic Shastra will come. The Veda clearly says, you follow dharma, you will get artha and kama. In this lifetime, you will get little artha, little kama. But in next lifetime, you will get even more.
The common argument is now in Kali Yuga, Varnashrama is broken, so the only hope is holy name. And if we have, for example, if we have a child, then we will have very, very little time for Shravan Kirtana. But if we are free from.
No, but you see, first of all, if I have to combine the senses with the sense organs, which practically means if I have to fulfill my 6 urges, there are only 2 ways to do it. I can do it within Vedic Dharma, or I can do it outside of Vedic Dharma. This is what is called material life. Fulfilling Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jitva Vegam, Udara Upastha Vegam. 6 urges. Either I can fulfill them within Dharma, or I can fulfill them outside. And in Bhakti Yoga, you are not actually interested in fulfilling the 6 urges. So that is why pure devotees are not bothered. That is why Prabhupada says that ultimately we want to come to the point where we don't engage in eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We simply want to engage in devotional service to Krishna. Okay. So if I'm not interested in that, I'm not interested in any of these things, and I don't require a spouse and all that. No, why that is even required? Why I need to have a wife in the first place? Putrartha kriyate varya. You accept a wife in order to have a child. If you start saying all, then the wife also may divorce you, and then why you marry? If you start thinking, oh, no, then because if you don't have a wife, you'll have no time for chanting, no. And for the woman also. If for Nirapeksha, Baladev is the example of Gargi, a lady, Sanyasini, unofficial, Sanyasini. Use her as an example. Women also can be Nirapeksha, men can also be Nirapeksha. Vishnupriya Devi was simply sitting and chanting, no. Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas. Lord Chaitanya was there, he was fully engaged in devotional service to Krishna. And Vishnupriya Devi was also doing the same thing. That is, she is the ideal for ladies who want to be Nirapeksha. In fact, she would chant one round and then move one piece of rice grain and store it. And after she had completed her quota, that much she would cook and she would eat. Tapasya. Lord Chaitanya was exhibiting tapasya that side. He is Pativrata. He is Lakshmi's incarnation. Naturally, whatever vow is accepted by the husband, wife will also accept. He is also accepting same as well. So, if you accept means you accept, don't accept means don't accept. That's all. What is a simple thing? That also depends on Varna. This is also dependent on Varna. If Brahmanical couples, they should. This part, you marry, whether you like or dislike each other, you are supposed to engage in the duties of family life. You're supposed to have a child, you're supposed to have a child. That's all. Wow. Jagannath Mishra and his wife, they had what? 10 children. Lord Chaitanya was a 10th child. 8 daughters and then 2 sons. It's just normal. Only now we are so getting suddenly paranoid about overpopulation. If the world is overpopulated by the Hare Krishna, it's good only. There is no harm with that. Bhakti Note has writes in Chaitanya Shikshamrita 6 ways to spread Hari Bhakti, and the 6th way is by having children. Have children. What is this? Come on, this also we need to say. Even the Christian will tell you that. The Muslim will tell you that. Jew will tell you that. Even the Buddhist will tell you that. Who believes in nothing. Even he will tell you that. Because children, they listen to parents now. Children listen to parents. They may not listen 100%, but at least some effect is there. Some effect is there. And you follow Dharma, they will like you. Unless if you cannot say, because if one has united with one's wife, or if a lady has united with her husband in the wrong time, a wrong state of consciousness, that will reflect in the child. This is all occupational hazard. What can be done? This is part and parcel of the miseries of family life. But these miseries can give you a spiritual realization. There's so many things that need to be done. There are daily duties. I showed you, there's Nitya Dharma, there's Naimatika Dharma. So many things need to be done. Family life is a big thing. First of all, family means 3 generations have to live together. 3 generations have to live.
So we can say to them that otherwise you will entertain the death and then the engagement. So
you don't understand. Actually, I don't say all these things at all. I simply say that spiritual progress means that we don't have lust, anger, kama, krodha, lobha. These are 3 gateways to hell. No controversy about this. Bhagavad Gita itself says it. These 3 should reduce. When devotees hear it, they themselves understand this is not happening. This is not happening. They themselves say it's not happening. Didn't happen for 30 years, not in my life, not in people I know. And then I say, I don't know what we are all doing. That's all. It's simply not what is taught in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are just doing something. That we can go on doing life after life. But unless we are pure, we will not get the result. And then finally, if you say, no, but I want Kripa Siddhi, I don't know how to help someone who wants Kripa Siddhi. There is no rule, regulation for Kripa Siddhi. You say that Krishna should come in one airplane and take you away. I cannot help. In fact, generally, devotees who have desire for Kripa Siddhi and all, I just respect them from a distance. I don't know what I can do about it. If you have a desire for sadhana siddhi, at least there are rules, regulations given by Prabhupada, Goswami, standard regulations. So, what? then anything can happen. You cannot say that Nityananda Prabhu is beyond rules. Yes, Nityananda Prabhu is beyond rules. So are you going to depend on that? Okay, depend, go. But don't be surprised if no magic happens. And that some devotee you thought is a great soul, liberated soul, he is reborn in the next life and he himself identifies, I am that person, and gives all evidence, I am that person. Then in the community gets a shock. No, what we thought that he's a liberated soul. It's not a liberated soul, that's all. So some of us learn slowly. Takes time. We must. How much time do we have? I am going to. No, I'm going to take another. I don't want to cross it over here. That's too much. We have 2 verses to cover for 5th chapter. Let's read through. Chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Text 1.
Arjuna Vacha Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punayogam cha samsasi Yachreya etayorekam Tanme Brohi Sunishchitam. Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now will you kindly tell me definitely which of the 2 is more beneficial?
Jnanada karma shraishyam sukarat vadena hari shuddhasya tat akartritvam tvayeti tvayetyadi praha panchame. In the 5th chapter, Hari speaks of the superiority of karma over jnana because of such reasons as easy performance. In other words, this is the point which Ramanujacharya has emphasized greatly. He says, you see these duties of jnana that I brought up from Bhagavatam, which is coming in several scriptures. These are all considered to be activities of jnana. Ramanujacharya says, when one executes one's karma duties with proper spiritual understanding, then that is actually far better than engaging in jnana duties. The reason why he's saying that is, you see in this chart, I have shown that karma is predominant in the first. It's karma predominant, karma jnana bhakti. There is something else which is jnana predominant, karma jnana bhakti. That means that is what is called jnana yoga. There you give more time to these 21 items. So that is technically called jnana yoga, jnana predominant, karma jnana bhakti. And Ramanujacharya, he very emphatically says, karma yoga is far superior to jnana yoga. Even if you are fully realized soul, you realize you are not the body, even then, he says, karma yoga is superior to jnana yoga. Because it is safe, it is easier to do, far safe. So in fact, he recommends from here, we should move to the next stage. There's no need to become a sannyasi and so on. Not like this pathway. This pathway is there. Here, this only jnana and bhakti means that one has to officially become or unofficially become a sannyasi. That's what it actually means. Within this we may not understand it, but outside they clearly understand. When you say only jnana and bhakti, it means leading the life of a genuine sannyasi. Whether you wear that dress or not, that is not the point. But you have accepted that. So Ramanujacharya was always conscious of the challenges and difficulties involved in that. Ramanujacharya favored the grihasthashrama actually. In his writings, he very openly he favors grihasthashrama. He says that the grihasthashrama is safe. But Madhvacharya, he favored renunciation. So, yes.
But he says that we should skip stage 2.
No, not like that. Not like that. He's simply saying that either karma can be predominant or bhakti can be predominant. That's all. Don't go into a stage where jnana is predominant because vast majority of people cannot handle it. That is Ramanujacharya's view. In the 5th chapter, Hari speaks of the superiority of karma over jnana because of such reasons as easy performance. He also speaks about giving up performance of karma yoga by the person who is pure. In the 2nd chapter, having explained that realization of Atma is a cause of liberation for the person desiring liberation, Krishna explained the necessity of Nishkama karma as a means towards that end. In the 3rd and 4th chapters, he explained that there are no actions for that person who has attained realization of Atma. There are no actions means he is not obliged to engage in any material activity, material duty. Once he has attained self-realization, once he realizes that he is not the body. With text 3.17 and text 4.33. Finally, he again advised Arjuna to perform Nishkama karma with text 4.42. Arjuna now has a question concerning this. You praise the renunciation of actions, Jnana Yoga, a process for stopping the activities of the senses. But you also speak of Karma Yoga, performance of action, engaging the senses in action. It is not possible to perform both at once because of the opposite nature of the two, like not moving and moving, or darkness and light. See, Krishna had pointed out that in that Yagya description, he says, no, there is the external aspect. External aspect is the Dravya Amsha. And then there is the internal aspect, the Jnana Amsha, spiritual aspect. And he said that Jnana is superior to Karma. So Arjuna is interpreting that to mean, okay, so then I should give up this and engage in the Jnana activities. Why I should be engaging in Karma activities all the time? I cannot understand your desire, whether one who has attained Jnana, internal realization, should renounce actions or perform them. Therefore, I am asking you, please tell me definitely which is better, renouncing actions or engaging in actions. Oh Krishna, you said that I should give up karma by yoga, and you also said that by jnana, cut all doubts and do karma in the form of fighting. You praised giving up karmas, and you also praised karma yoga. Therefore, definitely tell me what I should do: give up karmas or do karma yoga. In the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotion service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotion service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from the reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by Buddhi Yoga or devotion service was also explained there. See, when Prabhupada talks of devotion service, he's talking of devotion service stage 1, Gunibhuta Bhakti. In the 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation and knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, he thinks that sannyas or renunciation and knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as inaction. He inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. Text 2.
Sannyasa karma yogascha nushreyasa karo tayostu karmas sannyasat karma yoga vishishyate. Personality of Godhead replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotion is better than renunciation of work.
Asked by Arjuna, the Lord speaks. Both are beneficial, since they both lead to liberation. But karma yoga is better than jnana yoga. In other words, karma predominant karma jnana bhakti is better than jnana predominant karma jnana bhakti. The meaning is this. Karma yoga does not bear the same faults that arise in practicing jnana. But because of containing jnana within it, it brings about steadiness in jnana. For one who has renounced action because of steadiness in jnana, if he develops a fault in his consciousness, he must again perform karma yoga to correct the fault. In other words, let us say I have progressed from karma predominant karma jnana bhakti to jnana predominant karma jnana bhakti, and I do something wrong. That means I still have a tendency to do that wrong thing. So now I have to go back to karma predominant karma jnana bhakti to remove that cause of that problem. So how long I'll go on shuttling like this? Whereas if I'm engaged in karma predominant karma jnana bhakti, so gradually over time I will attain detachment and realization. And while I'm going through these challenges, I just do the same activity again. Then I will get more detachment and realization. I don't need to do something else. It's like one activity is self-sufficient. It will help me. This is the injunction of scriptures for remedying the problem. Statements concerning renunciation of action actually mean that when one attains absorption in Atma, then all actions leave that person spontaneously. Okay. How exactly one comes to this point of reducing his dependency on material duties in stage 2 or in stage 3? It's not that he is consciously giving up these material prosperity. Okay, from now onwards, I will not do. He loses the inclination for it. So, just like in winter, we wear winter clothes. And as the season changes and we move towards spring and summer, without a second thought, we remove it all. So, like that, spontaneously, we will give up. So, the wording that is used is, you don't give up these karma duties. These karma duties will give you up. They will go away from you spontaneously. Okay, then all actions leave that person spontaneously. Therefore, karma yoga is better because it is easier to perform, because it is safer, because it contains jnana within it. 3 reasons. It's easier to perform. It is safer, contains jnana within it. Whereas if you go to this path and we move into this, then when you develop some material desires, what do you do? Stuck now. So therefore that fear is there. Fruitive activities, that means seeking sense gratification, are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. And there is a fine quote from Bhagavatam. People are mad after sense gratification. They do not know that this present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of one's fruitive activities in the past. Although this body is temporary, it is always giving one trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his real identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for fruitive results for sense gratification. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sense gratification, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in fruitive activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotion service to Vasudeva. Only then can one have the opportunity to get out of the bondage of material existence. Therefore, jnana or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. One has to act in the status of spirit soul. Otherwise, there is no escape from material bondage. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthen one's advancement in real knowledge. Without Krishna consciousness, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of a conditioned soul. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action, so that one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna consciousness is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. The risk of falling is a risk of Falgu Vairagya. Renunciation is complete when it is in the knowledge that everything in existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim proprietorship over anything. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school. Bhaktivinoda. Both renunciation of karmas and karma yoga produce auspiciousness. But of the two, Nishkama karma yoga is better than renunciation of karma. Giving up attachment to karmas is called sannyas or renunciation. In the present context, giving up karmas is not taught. So, generally, when we talk of giving up material duties, we are talking of either, we are actually talking of this, Jnana Bhakti without karma. This is risky without having sufficient background. See, the Jnana set of activities that we have here, all of this requires some amount of sattva guna inside us. Otherwise, we cannot steadily execute them. That will become a big issue. If you say that all I should do in my life is only these 9 types of bhakti and the 21 types of activity, I really need to have sufficient sattva guna to do it. Okay. And that too, if you give more emphasis to these 21 duties, really difficult. Even if you give more emphasis to this Navadha Bhakti, then it's fine. Because Bhakti does not have a prerequisite. Jnana requires some amount of internal purity as its prerequisite. But Bhakti is, anyone can do that. Like I said now, even some extremely simple person, who is unfit to engage in Varna Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Sri Dharma. That person, you can tell him to do Kevala Bhakti, that also they will do. So at no point should we discourage a person from executing like this, for instance. Kevala Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti is fully okay. Or even Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, that's also okay. Because it's Bhakti. Bhakti does not have prerequisites. All you need to have is either faith and enthusiasm, or you need to have detachment in life. Then you will be able to hold it. But if you want to give predominance to dhyana, any of the things, so to really think whether the person will be able to sustain it. If you are going to depend on bhakti, it's fine. Krishna will take care of it. If you're going to depend on dhyana, Krishna will still take care, but that's the prerequisite. You need to have sattva guna in you. Without battery, it won't run. Jnana does not come with inverter. Okay, let's stop with it. Ansha Kalpaduru Vyashtika Pasana Seva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo